Spongebob Squarepants Battle for Bikini Bottom is a game that's already had massive skips and glitchy breakthroughs throughout its time as a game in the speedrunning scene, and as of recently, yet another huge breakthrough glitch was discovered. This find would allow you to store a pause screen, which will inevitably cause unintended behavior. But there's a catch. This new glitch is only possible on the worst version of the game, the PlayStation 2. Now, I'm sure some of you may already be rushing to write an angry comment over my remarks with the PS2 version of the game, but please let me explain. Battle for Bikini Bottom has an autosave feature, which when turned on, will save your game when collecting any of the game's main collectible, the golden spatulas. Collecting enough of these will count towards your progress, with the final boss requiring 75 of them, so make sure to collect whatever you can find. On the PlayStation 2 version, when you unplug the memory card from the console while this autosave is happening, a pop-up message will display stating that the data trying to be written to the memory card could not be autosaved correctly. While the message is displayed, the game freezes, but you can unfreeze it by pressing the X button. This behavior with the freezing and pressing of a button is exclusive to the PS2 version. With this in mind, if you get this event to occur while you're on the pause menu, such as collecting a spatula and then dying, which upon respawning allows you to pause, the memory card message, along with some other menu selections, will force the game to set its state from pause mode to play mode, even though you'll still be on the pause screen. This is when the pause screen will actually be stored. While this pause menu is stored, if you then pause once again, while fighting to try to see what's on screen with two pause menus visible. If you quit the game from the stored pause screen, while inside of the save game menu on the newer pause screen, you can then go back to a spatula you've already collected, requiring 75 of them, so make sure to collect whatever you can find. Wait, didn't I already do this before? For some bizarre reason, quitting while on the save screen, while a save is also attempting to be written to the memory card, will cause the golden spatulas you've already collected to become collectible again, further adding to your spatula count. Any cutscenes that are meant to play only once will also play again. It's almost like you've started a new game while keeping all your spatulas. Now, why did I say that the PlayStation 2 version is the worst version of the game? This console was the best seller of this generation of consoles. Surely I've gotta be joking. Well, not exactly, and it mainly has to do with the speedrun of the game. See, for many third-party games, the PS2 has always been the objectively worst version, mainly due to its increased loading and saving times. While the PS2 was a bestseller, being a home console that also doubled as a media player, the cheaper cost of the hardware inside the system, in addition to third-party developers' lack of optimizing their game for the console, would cause things to take longer. For casual gamers, this wouldn't really matter as you still get to play the game. But if you've ever at all felt like any of the playable characters moved a bit oddly in comparison to the direction you're holding, then it's likely that that's a result of the PS2 version's movement being a bit weird. And maybe even a result of the PS2 controller's more cost-effective internal hardware. Now, as much as I've been bashing PlayStation's second main home console, in the case of Battle for Bikini Bottom, this ironically winds up being the fastest version of the game. It sounds kinda hard to believe when you see loading screen times take exponentially longer on this version when compared to that of, say, the Xbox version. But the overall broken nature of just being able to repeatedly collect spatulas that don't take too long to get would help that much. But what's even funnier is that this was already known about, to an extent. You see, while this Battle for Bikini Bottom bug was just found by user TFxMortal, there were at least a couple other games that already had this massive exploit. It was originally discovered back in 2020 by user WartWeekle for the Spongebob Squarepants movie game. Later on, it would be found as well for Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights, this one being found by Mortal once again, but this time in a collaboration with speedrunner Rubbertoe64. Funny enough, these glitches were originally done on the GameCube versions of these games as well. But wait, How were these even possible in games that weren't Battle for Bikini Bottom, with one of them being a completely different franchise? It's fairly easily explained by the fact that all three of these games were created by Heavy Iron Studios. That may sound a little vague, as they would create other games, but these games in particular also shared the same game engine. That is, they all work off of the same code that was written for some earlier video game work. They all use the game engine known as Renderware, which was written by a different game developer, Criterion Software, back in 1993. So the shared game engine use, as well as these games being built by the same developers, would result in similar glitches across these titles, though they would be different enough between games to have their own quirks. Hence why the other games' pause storage glitches were found on GameCube, while Battle for Bikini Bottom is only possible on PS2 as of today. As for how fast repeatedly collecting some of the same golden spatulas is, the current world record for the game's fastest version that doesn't use the pause storage glitch, the original Xbox, in the main any % category is 40 minutes and 37 seconds by Shift. The loading screens are much more rapid in pace, especially when factoring in the community's adopted method of loading the game from the Xbox's hard drive compared to the game disc. As of right now, Shift's current gold time for the any % category is beating the game in under 40 minutes. A gargantuan beast of a milestone when you take into account the massive amount of frame-perfect and even pixel-perfect strategies. With this goal being ludicrously hard, but still humanly possible, how does the PS2 version fit into this? After all, I did say that this was the new fastest version. As of today, the fastest known time for the PS2 version is 33 minutes and 41 seconds, by Shift once again. A time that, while effort was absolutely applied, is nowhere near as demanding as the Xbox any % speedrun. He's even recently expressed interest in using the backwards compatibility of the earlier PlayStation 3 models, as it could provide faster load times. But this can come with its own set of problems. Though it would not be as easy as I might make it sound. While the overall route you take during the run has changed to become quicker, including the fact you don't actually have to start with autosave on for this pause storage glitch to work. Rather, saving the game mid-play session will turn on the autosave again. The strats you have to apply to go fast have been rather gruesome, especially being on PS2, with one trick sticking out like a sore thumb. SBA. Short for skee ball abuse, this trick, which takes place in the Goo Lagoon level's pier, involves using the bus stop in the game to switch to playing as Patrick, carrying these stone tikis across teetering platforms, followed by throwing them from a very precise spot into the skee ball machine. From there, you switch back to Spongebob and use the unlockable Bubble Bowl move right into these tikis. It's possible to stand in this machine using a strategy earlier in the run called Hans Disable, where normally, when standing on ground that's considered out of bounds, the big hand Hans from the show will pull you out of there, placing you back onto proper in-game territory. Otherwise, if Hans wasn't disabled, then this trick wouldn't even be possible. Either way, throwing the Bubble Bowl into these tikis will cause the Bubble Bowl to get stuck between them, rapidly spamming the 30 hole in the skee ball machine to gain more of the game's currency, shiny objects. These shiny objects are used to trade with Mr. Krabs for some golden spatulas. He's only got a maximum of 8 to give to you, with each one increasing in price. But with this PS2 pause storage glitch in play, that helps to massively expedite the process. Now while this trick is already difficult, lining up in the exact correct spot, with Shift using a harder yet even faster method known as one tiki, doing that on PS2 proves to be much greater of a challenge. As I've said before, if you've ever played this version of the game, you may know that even if you try moving as straight as possible, especially when trying to lightly hold the stick, the character you control may not exactly do that. In fact, they'll get pulled to either side, making you feel as though you're walking around like a drunken sailor. This turns an already brutal trick into what feels like a luck-based nightmare. Not to mention the sound. Holy sh! Oh, I can't hear myself think! Yes, well, anyways. If it wasn't bad enough, he would have to do SBA twice, on top of a few other difficult strats, and all the times he'd stop to do the pause storage glitch, having to remember the sets of controller inputs just to get this glitch to work. It would seem like BFBB speedrunners wouldn't be able to escape the suffering that seems to come from this game's run, having to do all these strategies back to back. Or maybe this method is just boring, repetitive slop.
Yes, consume your slop. Open wide, get the funnel. Slop is coming.
After all is said and done though, this would result in the worst version of the game also being the fastest way to beat it. But this isn't quite where the story ends. While this may now be the quickest way to beat the game, some BFBB community members feel that this shouldn't exactly be lumped in with the other versions of the game. It makes sense when you think about it, as unlike the PS2 and GameCube, Xbox doesn't have a memory card, but rather an internal hard drive, so you wouldn't even have the ability to pull off the same glitch that you could on PS2, making these two runs completely different. While nothing is set in stone yet, there is active conversation in the community as to what the best course of action should be to give pause storage its own leaderboard space, while preserving the run using the non-pause storage route. This isn't even the first time the PS2 version caused a stir-up. Back in 2020, it was found that ejecting and reinserting the disc while the game's running can cause other unintended behavior. If you obtain downward momentum, for instance the momentum you get from falling after using the Bubble Bash move, then eject and reinsert the disc, SpongeBob can clip through just about anything. This would have led to a much more effortless way to clip through some objects that would have otherwise been rather precise. But this idea would be shot down and banned. Though as I've stated, this pause storage glitch seems to be around to stay, just perhaps separate from the main way to run the game. Big thanks to Shift, who streams speedruns of this game just about every day, so if you want to watch him in his quest for 39 on Xbox, or whatever else he's doing, I'll leave a link to his stream and YouTube channel down in the description below. Also, huge thanks to Mortal for allowing me to talk about this glitch that he discovered. I'll also leave a link to both his stream and YouTube as well. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, share your thoughts in the comments below. But with that being said, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care and peace.